Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. She said it while taking off her earrings. Just dropped it into the conversation like she was mentioning the weather forecast. Everyone there has done better than us. I'm embarrassed to be your wife. I was on the couch reviewing a contract when those words landed in our living room. It was 10:47 on a Saturday night. She just walked in from her 17-year high school reunion at the Belvedere Hotel and apparently decided that was the perfect time to let me know how she really felt. Most husbands would probably drop what they were doing, start asking questions, maybe get defensive, possibly even beg for clarification. Not me. I looked up from the papers I'd been reading and took a moment to really process what she'd just said. Then I did something she clearly wasn't expecting. "Then don't be," I said. Whitney stopped mid-motion, one earring in her hand, the other still in her ear. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. "What's that supposed to mean?" I set down the contract I'd been reviewing. "It means exactly what you said. You're embarrassed to be my wife. I'm solving that problem for you. We should get divorced." The color drained from her face completely. "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it then?" "Because it sounded pretty clear to me. You're embarrassed to be my wife. I'm solving that problem for you." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. This wasn't going according to whatever script she had in her head. I could practically see the gears turning as she tried to figure out her next move. "You're overreacting," she finally said, defaulting to her usual tactic of making me feel like my response was the problem. "Am I?" I leaned back against the couch cushions. 2 months ago, you called my car sad when your friend Claire pulled up in her Mercedes. Last month, you told your mother I'd settled into mediocrity. 3 weeks ago, you rolled your eyes when I mentioned being content with our life. At dinner parties, you introduced me like you're apologizing for my existence. I counted these off like I was listing groceries. Should I keep going, or do you get the picture? The silence that followed was different from our usual uncomfortable silences. This one had weight to it. "I didn't mean any of that the way you're taking it," she started, but I held up a hand. "You meant all of it. Every word. And you know what? That's fine. People want different things. But here's what's going to happen next." I stood up and stretched, feeling lighter than I had in months. "I'm going to the guest bedroom. Tomorrow morning, I'm contacting divorce attorneys. You can have the house. Your parents paid the down payment anyway." "You can't be serious." "Dead serious." I grabbed my laptop from the side table. "Sleep well." I left her standing there in the living room, one earring still dangling from her hand, trying to figure out what just happened. The guest bedroom was smaller but quieter. I actually slept better than I had in weeks. Sunday morning came with surprising clarity. I was up at 7, coffee made, laptop open at the kitchen table researching family law attorneys in Baltimore. Whitney stumbled downstairs around 8 in her bathrobe, eyes puffy from what was probably a sleepless night. "We should talk about last night," she said, trying for casual and missing by a mile. "We did talk. You're embarrassed by me. I'm fixing it." I turned my laptop screen toward her. 3 different family law firms, contact forms already filled out. Just need to hit submit on these. Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. "You can't be serious." "I was just frustrated from the reunion. Frustrated that I embarrass you." "Got it. That's exactly why we're getting divorced." I clicked submit on the first form. "I'm looking at apartments this afternoon. There's a nice 1-bedroom in Fells Point." "Apartments?" Her voice went up an octave. "You're moving out?" "Seems like the best solution for both of us." I submitted the second form. "Makes sense when you think about it." She just stood there, staring at the laptop screen like it was displaying something impossible. I finished my coffee, submitted the third form, and went upstairs to shower. By the time I came back down, she was on the phone with someone. I heard her say, "I don't know what's gotten into him," before I grabbed my keys and headed out. The apartment viewing was perfect. 1-bedroom overlooking the water in Fells Point, hardwood floors, good natural light. The landlord said I could move in within 2 weeks. I filled out the application on the spot. On the drive back, I called my younger brother Grant. "Hey, what's up?" he answered. "Whitney told me last night she's embarrassed to be my wife." Silence for a beat. "She said what?" "So I'm divorcing her." "Wait, seriously? Just like that?" "Just like that. Can you help me move in 2 weeks?" Grant laughed, not because it was funny, but because he knew exactly what kind of person Whitney was. "Hell yeah, I can. You know, You sound different. Lighter. He was right. I felt it too. Yeah, I do. Monday morning brought the first call back. Patricia Valdez, attorney at law, called at 9 sharp. We had a consultation scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. I was taking notes at the kitchen table when Whitney came in and tried to interrupt. I held up one finger, continued the call professionally, confirmed the time and address. When I hung up, Whitney was glaring at me. We need to talk, she said. We are talking. I'm talking to my lawyer about our divorce. What about counseling? What about trying to work on things? Work on what exactly? Your embarrassment? That's your feeling, Whitney. I can't fix how you feel about me. I can only remove myself from the equation. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Who are you right now? I'm the guy you married before you decided he wasn't good enough. Turns out he was just buried under 7 years of criticism. I grabbed my coffee and went to get ready for work. Behind me, I heard her pick up her phone. By lunch, I'd gotten 3 texts from mutual friends, all some variation of, "Are you okay?" Whitney had started her campaign. Tuesday evening, her mother called. "Russell, I think you're being hasty," she said without preamble. "Whitney's very upset." "I'm sure she is. Don't you think you're throwing away 7 years of marriage over one comment?" It wasn't one comment. It was 7 years of comments that led to that one. Whitney said she's embarrassed to be my wife. I'm respecting her feelings. She didn't mean it that way. Then she should be more careful with her words. Words have consequences. I could hear her mother trying to formulate a response, but I didn't have the energy for it. "I appreciate your concern, but this decision is made. Take care." I hung up before she could continue. Wednesday afternoon, I sat in Patricia Valdez's office on the 12th floor of a building downtown. She was sharp, direct, probably in her mid-40s. "Let me guess," she said after I'd explained the situation. "She didn't think you'd actually do anything." "Exactly. I see this a lot. One partner says something designed to get a reaction, to make the other person chase them or prove themselves. Then the other person agrees instead." She smiled slightly. "It's always fascinating to watch the backpedaling." We discussed Maryland divorce law, the separation requirements, the division of assets. No kids made it simpler. The house was in her name. Clean break. "Getting mutual consent will speed this up considerably," Patricia said. "I'll handle it." Walking out of that office, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Control. Not over Whitney, but over my own life. By Wednesday evening, I had the lease approval. Move-in date set for 2 weeks out. I told Whitney over takeout Chinese that we ate in complete silence. "Lease is signed," I said, setting down my chopsticks. "I move out on the 15th. She looked up from her food, eyes red-rimmed. "This is really happening. You said you were embarrassed. I believed you. I was having a bad day. The reunion was hard. Seeing everyone's successes. And you came home and decided to make it my fault that you felt inadequate." I stood up, threw my container away. "That's the problem, Whitney. Your feelings about yourself became my responsibility to fix. I'm done with that job." The next few days brought a shift in her strategy. Suddenly, she was affectionate. Left notes. Cooked dinner for the first time in months. Friday night, she tried to initiate intimacy. I deflected gently. "This doesn't change anything. I just want my husband back," she said, tears forming. "The one who isn't good enough for you, remember? I was just comparing us to people from high school. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything. That's the problem." Saturday morning brought an unexpected visitor. Claire, Whitney's best friend from the reunion, showed up unannounced. I saw her through the window and almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hey, Russell." She gave me an awkward smile. "Can we talk?" I made coffee while she settled at the kitchen table. Whitney was conveniently out running errands. "Whitney's really torn up about this," Claire said. "Don't you think you're overreacting a little? To being told my wife is embarrassed by me?" "No, I don't think so. She was just in a mood. You know how reunions are. Everyone's showing off. Right? And she came home and took that out on me." "That's the pattern, Claire. It's been the pattern for years." Claire shifted uncomfortably. "What do you mean? How many times have you heard her criticize something I've said or done in front of people? How many eye rolls? How many little comments about my choices?" She didn't answer right away, which was answer enough. "You've noticed it," I said. It wasn't a question. "I mean, Whitney can be particular. Whitney treats me like an accessory that doesn't match her outfit. I'm done being treated that way." Claire left shortly after, and I knew she'd report back that I was unmovable. Good. I was. The week leading up to the move was a blur of packing. I found my old photography equipment in the garage, buried under years of neglect. The camera, the lenses, the tripod. I remembered buying it all 6 years ago, excited to develop a new skill. Photography's just a phase, Whitney had said. Seems like a waste of money when you've got your phone. I packed it all. Every piece. Moving day arrived with perfect weather. Grant showed up at 8 with his truck. Nice day to start over, he said, grinning. Best day I've had in years. The apartment was everything I needed. Small but mine. The balcony overlooked the water. Hardwood floors reflected the morning light. Grant and I made quick work of the boxes and furniture. When was the last time you had your own space? Grant asked, setting down a box labeled books. I thought about it. Never really. Lived with roommates in college. Moved in with Whitney right after. Well, here's to firsts. He clapped me on the shoulder. This place is great, man. You're going to be happy here. That first night alone, I ordered pizza and sat on the balcony. The harbor stretched out below, lights reflecting on the water. I felt something profound settle in my chest. Peace. The following Sunday, I unpacked the camera equipment, charged the batteries, cleaned the lenses, took it out for a walk through Patterson Park. Early morning light, fountain spray catching the sun, people walking dogs. I shot a full roll of film. On the way back, I ran into a neighbor coming out of the building. You shoot film? He asked, noticing my camera. That's rare these days. Getting back into it, I said. Owen Fletcher. He extended his hand. I'm in 3B. Russell Brennan. Just moved into 2C. Welcome to the building. Owen adjusted his messenger bag. There's a photo walk group that meets at Artifact Coffee on Sundays if you're interested. Good people, all skill levels. I might check that out. Do it. We meet at 9. Just ask for Nina's group. The next Sunday, I showed up at Artifact Coffee in Hampton. A group of 6 or 7 people stood outside with various cameras. A woman in her late 30s was talking about composition and light. You must be the new guy Owen mentioned, she said, walking over with an easy smile. I'm Nina Garrison. Russell, I'm pretty rusty. Rusty is fine. We're just here to shoot and learn. No pressure. We walked through Hampton for 2 hours. Nina offered tips on composition, helped me think about light differently. The conversation flowed naturally between camera settings and life observations. No one asked about jobs or status or any of the things Whitney had been so concerned about. On the walk back to the coffee shop, Nina looked at the back of my camera, scrolling through the digital shots I'd taken as tests. You've got a good eye for composition, she said. These are really strong. Thanks. It feels good to be doing this again. Why'd you stop? Life got in the way, I guess. Or someone convinced me it wasn't important. She looked at me thoughtfully. Their loss. By week 4, Whitney had moved to a new phase of her campaign. She called my office, claiming an emergency. I took the call outside. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing's wrong. I just needed to talk to you. Whitney, you can't call my workplace for non-emergencies. People are asking about us. What should I tell them? The truth. We're getting divorced. You're humiliating me. I almost laughed. I thought I was the embarrassing one. She hung up. Week 5 brought accusations via text. Whitney had apparently driven by my apartment and seen a car in the visitor parking. Already moved on? That was fast. It was Nina's car. We'd met to discuss an upcoming group exhibition at a small gallery. We're separated. I'm allowed to have friends. Is that what this is really about? You found someone else? This is about you being embarrassed by me. Your words, Whitney, not mine. I want to talk in person. No need. Everything that needs to be said has been said. Week 6, she showed up at my apartment on a Saturday evening. I was reading a photography book, trying to understand zone systems, when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Whitney. I considered not answering, but avoidance wasn't my style anymore. Nice place, she said when I opened the door, trying to peer past me. Very bachelor pad. I stayed in the doorway. What do you need? I've been thinking a lot. I made a mistake. Okay. That's it. Just okay? You're allowed to think you made a mistake. Doesn't change anything. Her eyes landed on the camera equipment visible through the door. You're doing photography again? Yeah. Turns out I enjoy it when no one's calling it a waste of time. Direct hit. Her face crumpled slightly. I should go, she said. Drive safe. I closed the door gently but firmly. Week 7 brought an unexpected development. After the photo walk, Nina asked if I wanted to grab lunch. Sure, I said, surprised by how much I wanted to say yes. We went to the local oyster in Fells Point, sat outside in the October sun, talked about photography, about art, about life. You seem lighter than when you first joined the group, Nina said, splitting a dozen oysters with me. Going through a divorce. Turns out it's liberating. From what I've seen, you seem like someone who doesn't need liberating. More like someone who is being held back. It was the most accurate thing anyone had said to me in years. We talked for 2 hours. About places we wanted to travel, books we'd read, the difference between taking pictures and making photographs. When we finally left, I realized I'd spent more time genuinely enjoying someone's company than I had in the entire past year. Week 8, the photo group got an opportunity. A small gallery in Hampton wanted to display work from local photographers. Nina was curating. I want to include 3 of your Patterson Park shots, she said over coffee before a walk. If that's okay. Really, they're good, Russell. You see things other people miss. The opening reception was on a Friday night. I wore a button-down, felt nervous in a way I hadn't expected. Grant came to support me. Look at you, he said, surveying my photos on the gallery wall. Artist man. People were actually looking at my work. Some even asked questions about technique and intention. I felt seen in a way that had nothing to do with status or money or the things Whitney had cared about. Then I saw her. Whitney, standing near the entrance, looking uncomfortable but determined. She approached while I was talking with Nina. I didn't know you were showing work, Whitney said. It's new. They're good. I forgot you were talented. Nina excused herself diplomatically, went to check on other pieces. You didn't forget, I said. You never thought it mattered. Whitney looked around the gallery, at the people engaged with the art, at the obvious respect the group had for each other. Maybe I was wrong about a lot of things. Maybe you were. She left shortly after. I stayed until closing, helped Nina take down the show, loaded pieces into cars. Felt like I belonged somewhere for the first time in years. Week 9, Whitney sent a photo of a therapy appointment card. I'm getting help. My therapist thinks we should try couples counseling. Good that you're in therapy. But we're not a couple anymore. We're still married. Paperwork. Details. Don't you care that I'm trying? I care that you're working on yourself. But that's for you, not for us. That ship has sailed. 3 days later, Whitney showed up at my office building. I was heading out for lunch when I saw her in the lobby, talking to the security guard. She spotted me before I could turn around. Russell, wait. She hurried over, heels clicking on the marble floor. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. You won't meet with me. You barely answer texts. People were walking past us. Co-workers who knew me, who'd ask questions later. This isn't the place. Then where is? You've shut me out completely. There's nothing left to discuss. We signed the separation agreement. But we could stop the divorce. We could fix this. A colleague from accounting walked by, gave me a curious look. Whitney noticed. Is this embarrassing you? I asked quietly. Having this conversation in your husband's workplace? The irony hit her. I could see it register. That's different, she said. It's not different at all. You made our relationship about appearances and status. Now you're upset that I'm not playing along anymore. I just want to talk to you like an adult. Adults respect boundaries. I've made mine clear. Please don't come to my workplace again. I walked past her toward the door. Didn't look back. Grabbed lunch at a food truck and ate it by the inner harbor, watching tourists take photos of the water. My phone buzzed with texts from Whitney. I silenced it. When I got back to the office, the security guard gave me a sympathetic nod. Apparently Whitney had tried to go up to my floor and been stopped. Small victories. Week 10 brought a dinner party at Owen's apartment. Casual gathering, creative people, easy conversation. Nina was there with a few other photographers and artists. Someone asked about my marriage casually, the way people do when getting to know someone. Separated. Soon to be divorced. Nina added. His wife told him she was embarrassed to be married to him. The table went quiet. That's brutal, someone said. Good for you for getting out. The conversation moved on, but I noticed the support. Healthy people recognized unhealthy behavior immediately. They didn't make excuses for it or try to rationalize it away. After dinner, Nina and I walked along the harbor. Your friends are great, I said. They're your friends too now. She bumped my shoulder with hers. We adopted you. I appreciate that. We stopped at a bench overlooking the water, sat in comfortable silence. Can I ask you something? Nina said. Sure. Do you regret the divorce? Not even for a second. Good. She smiled. You deserve better than someone who doesn't see your value. The next afternoon, I stopped at the Ivy bookshop in Mount Washington to pick up a photography book Nina had recommended. I was browsing the art section when I heard a familiar voice. Russell? I turned. Amanda Brooks, one of Whitney's friends from the reunion. We'd met at a few dinner parties over the years. Hey, Amanda. I almost didn't recognize you. You look different. Different how? I don't know. Lighter maybe? She held a stack of cookbooks. Whitney told me about the separation. Yeah. For what it's worth, I'm not surprised. That caught me off guard. No. I always thought she was hard on you. The way she'd correct you at parties or make those little comments. Amanda shifted her books to the other arm. My ex did the same thing. Death by 1,000 cuts, you know? Yeah, I know. The reunion probably didn't help. Everyone was showing off, trying to prove they'd made something of themselves. Half of them are miserable, but they'll never admit it. She smiled. You seem like you're doing okay, though. I am. Better than okay, actually. Good. You deserve it. After she left, I thought about what she'd said. Half the people Whitney was so desperate to impress were probably just as unhappy, just better at hiding it. The whole thing felt even more pointless. I bought the photography book and a novel I'd been meaning to read. Drove home through streets that were starting to feel familiar in a new way. Not the routes I'd driven with Whitney, but new paths I was choosing for myself. Week 12 arrived with a call from Patricia. Whitney's attorney had requested mediation. It's standard, Patricia said, especially when there aren't major assets to fight over. Are you okay with that? Yeah, let's get it done. Mediation was scheduled for the following Thursday. That same week, my parents drove up from Annapolis for dinner. They'd heard about the divorce through Grant and wanted to see me. We met at Woodbury Kitchen, sat outside under heat lamps. Your mother's been worried, my dad said after we'd ordered. I'm fine. Better than fine. 7 years is a long time to walk away from, my mother said gently. I've thought about nothing else for months. Years, if I'm honest. What happened? My dad asked. Grant mentioned something about a comment Whitney made. I told them about the reunion, about the years of small criticisms that led to that moment. My mother's face shifted as I talked. I never liked how she spoke to you, she said quietly. At holiday dinners, the way she'd correct you. I thought maybe that was just her way. It was her way. That's why I'm leaving. You seem different, my dad observed. Calmer. I feel different. Like I can breathe. My mother reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Then we support you. We talked for 2 hours. About my apartment, photography, the life I was building. They asked about Nina, and I told them it was early but good. When we hugged goodbye in the parking lot, my mother whispered, I'm proud of you for knowing when to walk away. The weekend before mediation, I was at Artifact Coffee with my laptop, editing photos. Whitney walked in. Clearly not a coincidence. She sat down uninvited. Everyone thinks I ruined everything, she said. You said you were embarrassed by me. What did you expect people to think? I just wanted you to try harder. To want more. Want more what? Success. Status. The things that matter. To you, I said. Those things matter to you. Not to me. Don't you want people to respect you? People who matter already do. The ones who don't aren't worth impressing. Whitney realized she'd lost this argument. She left without ordering anything. The barista, who'd clearly heard everything, gave me a supportive nod. Wednesday night before mediation, Nina came over. We cooked pasta together, nothing fancy, just easy domestic comfort. Tomorrow's the big day, she said, stirring sauce. Yeah, should be straightforward. How are you feeling? Ready. This should have happened years ago. What held you back? I thought about it while draining pasta. I thought I was supposed to try harder. Thought her disappointment was my responsibility to fix. And now I know some people will never be satisfied. Not because of what you do or don't do, but because they're looking for satisfaction in the wrong places. Nina set down her spoon, looked at me directly. For what it's worth, I think you're extraordinary. I kissed her then, soft and genuine, and without any of the complicated history that had weighed down every interaction with Whitney. Thursday morning, I arrived at the mediator's office calm and prepared. Whitney arrived with her mother, looking anxious. The mediator was professional, no nonsense. Asset division went smoothly. House to Whitney. Cars to respective owners. Bank accounts already separated. Then Whitney spoke up. Can we talk privately? The mediator allowed it. In the small conference room, just the two of us. Whitney looked at me with genuine desperation. I don't want this divorce. I know. Then why are you doing this? Because you told me you were embarrassed to be my wife. And you were right. You should be with someone who meets your standards. My standards are messed up. I see that now. Good. That's growth. But it doesn't change what you said or how you made me feel for 7 years. I can change. Maybe. But I'm not waiting around to find out. I've spent 7 years trying to be enough for you. I'm done. We went back to the mediation room. Whitney signed the papers, crying quietly. I signed calmly. Separation agreement finalized, the mediator said. Divorce will be final in 6 months per Maryland law. In the parking lot, Whitney's mother tried to stop me. Russell, please think about this. I have. I wish Whitney well, but this is final. I drove straight to my apartment, called Nina. It's done, I said. How do you feel? Free. 2 weeks after mediation, I went back to the house one last time. There were still a few boxes in the garage, some tools, odds, and ends I'd left behind in the rush to move out. Whitney's car was in the driveway. I'd texted ahead, told her I was coming. Professional courtesy. She opened the door before I could knock. Hey, she said. Looked tired. Thinner than I remembered. Hey, I'll just grab my stuff from the garage and be out of your way. Take your time. The house felt strange. Like a place I'd visited once, but never really lived. All the furniture was the same, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. Probably never had. Whitney followed me to the garage, watched while I loaded boxes into my car. The house feels empty, she said. Even with all the furniture still here. You'll get used to it. Will I? She leaned against the doorframe. I keep thinking about what you said. About me looking for satisfaction in the wrong places. Yeah, you were right. The reunion was just me comparing myself to everyone, trying to measure up to some imaginary standard. And when I felt like I didn't, I took it out on you. I set down the box I was holding. I appreciate you saying that. It doesn't change anything, does it? No, but it's still good that you understand it. She nodded, eyes wet but not crying. I hope she makes you happy. Nina. She does. But more than that, I make myself happy now. That's the difference. I loaded the last box, closed the trunk. Whitney walked me to the driver's door. For what it's worth, she said, I'm sorry I didn't see what I had until it was gone. I know. Take care of yourself, Whitney. I drove away without looking back. Last time I'd see that house, those streets, that version of my life. 3 months later, my apartment had fully become mine. Photos on the walls, camera equipment organized, books on shelves arranged by subject. Morning routine solidified. Coffee on the balcony, reading, watching the harbor come to life. Weekends meant photo walks, gallery visits, occasional exhibitions. My relationship with Nina deepened naturally. No rush, no pressure, just two people who genuinely enjoyed each other. Grant visited one Saturday, looked around, nodded approvingly. You're actually happy, he said. Not a question, an observation. Yeah, I forgot what that felt like. For months after separation, Baltimore Magazine ran a small feature on emerging local photographers. 3 of my photos appeared in the spread. The write-up called me a photographer rediscovering his voice with striking clarity. Nina was there when I first saw it, didn't make a big deal, just smiled and squeezed my hand. The exhibition that followed was larger, at a better gallery. 2 pieces sold. People asked about my process, my inspiration, my vision. I realized this was what fulfillment felt like. Not external validation, but internal satisfaction. Doing something for the love of it, not to prove anything to anyone. A month later, Nina asked if I'd be interested in co-teaching a beginner photography workshop with her at a community center in Canton. Me? Teach. You're good at explaining things. Patient. Plus, beginners respond well to someone who rediscovered photography as an adult. You remember what it's like to be intimidated by it. The first workshop was on a Saturday morning. 8 students, all different ages, all nervous about whether they could really learn. I knew that feeling. Photography isn't about having expensive equipment or technical knowledge, I told them. It's about seeing. About noticing things other people walk past. We spent 2 hours walking through Canton. I showed them how to frame shots, how to work with natural light, how to wait for the right moment. One woman, probably in her 60s, almost cried when she got a shot of morning light through autumn leaves. I did that, she said, looking at her camera screen. I really did that. You did, I confirmed. And you'll keep doing it. That's the gift of actually paying attention to the world. After class, Nina and I grabbed coffee at the Daily Grind. You're a natural teacher, she said. It felt good, helping people discover something new. That's what you do. With your photos, with the way you approach teaching. You open doors for people. I thought about Whitney, how she'd called photography a waste of time. How she'd been so focused on status and success that she'd missed the point entirely. Some things were worth doing just because they made you more alive. 5 months post-separation, Whitney texted asking to meet. I considered saying no, but agreed to coffee. Public place, daytime, boundaries clear. We met at Common Ground in Federal Hill. She looked different. Less polished, more genuine somehow. I've been in therapy seriously, she said. Working through a lot. I'm glad. My therapist helped me understand I was chasing my parents' approval, not my own happiness. Trying to impress people who don't actually matter. Makes sense. I saw your feature in Baltimore Magazine. Your photos are beautiful. Thank you. She took a breath. I'm sorry. Really sorry. For all of it. The comparisons, the belittling, the embarrassment comment. You deserve better. I appreciate that. Is there any chance? No. She nodded, expected this. You're with the photographer? Nina? I am. She seems good for you. She is. But more importantly, I'm good for me now. I'm happy you found that. We parted ways with genuine closure. No anger, no bitterness, just acceptance that some things end, and that's okay. 6 months after mediation, the divorce became final. Legal documents arrived. I signed them, filed them away. Done. I was on my balcony with morning coffee when Nina came out, still half asleep, wrapped in one of my shirts. What are you thinking about? She asked, settling beside me. How a single sentence can change your entire life. The embarrassment comment. Yeah, best thing she ever said to me. Nina looked confused. How so? Because I finally listened. Finally believed her. And it set me free. We sat watching the sunrise over Baltimore Harbor. I picked up my camera, photographed the moment. Not for anyone else, just for myself. Evidence of a morning that felt right. Sometimes the end of something broken is the beginning of something real. Sometimes believing someone when they tell you who they are is the kindest thing you can do for yourself. And sometimes embarrassment is just honesty wearing an ugly mask. When Whitney said she was embarrassed to be my wife, she was telling me the truth about how she saw me. The mistake I'd made for years was trying to change her perception instead of accepting it and walking away. Now I had mornings like this. Coffee on the balcony. Someone beside me who chose to be there. Work I loved. A life that felt like mine. Whitney had been right about one thing. Our marriage wasn't working. She just hadn't expected me to agree so completely. Best decision I ever made was taking her at her word. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.